Hello everyone and welcome back to another video of Football Diaries, and today we are honoured to have with us Liverpool FC correspondent for the Athletic, Mr. James Pearce. I will be interviewing Mr. James on the future of Liverpool. Hello Mr. James, welcome.
Hello there. Nice to be with you. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Good.
So guys, now let's get started. And my first question is, where do you think Liverpool will lie in the near future of about 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think the really interesting thing for Liverpool's future in the next 5 to 10 years is what happens after Jurgen Klopp leaves, because of course he's under contract until 2024. So we've got another 4 years of Jurgen Klopp, and then I think you never know. You can never look too far into the future, but I think most people expect he will leave Liverpool in 2024. He said that he wants to take some time off, that he feels like he owes it to his family. So and I think he will have, especially give him another 4 years. He will have won many more big trophies, I'm sure. So it's going to be like trying to replace Alex Ferguson when he left Manchester United. It's very difficult to follow in the footsteps of such a legend. So that's going to be the really interesting thing for me in the kind of the next 5 to 10 years for Liverpool, is what happens after Klopp. I think personally, I would love to see Steven Gerrard become Liverpool manager in whether that's 4 years' time or whether Klopp stays around a bit longer. I think he's doing a fantastic job at Rangers. But of course, so much can change in 4 years in football. And, someone who is rated very highly as a manager now might not necessarily be rated the same in 3 or 4 years' time. I think if the job was coming up now, you'd maybe mention someone like Julian Nagelsmann, but we don't know, whether he's going to still be so highly rated in 4 years' time. So, it's going to be really interesting. And I think on the playing side, of course, the next 5 years are going to involve building another great team, because, this team that won the Champions League and that won the Premier League, of course, in 5 years' time, there'll be no Salah, no Mane, no Firmino, no Henderson. Van Dijk will be coming to the end of his career as well. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the club evolves.
Totally agree. And now the injury crisis of the current Liverpool squad is totally messed up, with over 15 players already out now, including Salah, who's just got COVID-19, Van Dijk, who's out on long term, Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, Henderson, Gomez, and many more players. Fabinho just about returning for the Leicester game. And for the next 2 weeks or so, Liverpool will have to make do with only about 5 regular starters in the squad. So what do you take of this crisis?
Yeah, it's a very, very tough time to be a coach or a manager at Liverpool, because it's a real headache for Jurgen Klopp. Of course, losing Van Dijk was a massive, massive blow, because I think everyone will agree he's the best centre back in world football. So you take him out, and that was bad enough. But then you've just mentioned there all the names that have picked up injury problems since. So, hopefully, I think Liverpool are waiting at the moment, obviously, for players to come back from international duty, so that their own medical staff can assess them. I think certainly from what I've been told, Henderson isn't particularly, serious, or they're not too worried about Henderson. The same with Robertson. I think with Robertson it was more a precaution. So hopefully he'll be okay. Trent was ruled out for 3 to 4 weeks, so we've kind of, the only good thing is probably 2 weeks of that time for Trent has been taken up with the internationals, so Trent shouldn't miss too many games. Of course, Joe Gomez was a heartbreaking setback. Someone who playing so well, and to get injured like he did in training with England. So I think it's the defence which is obviously the worrying area for Klopp at the moment, because thankfully, Fabinho is close to fitness again. So, we're going to see a lot of Fabinho playing at centre-back between now and the end of the season. And he has to really hope that Joel Matip stays fit because, I don't think anyone argues with how good Joel Matip is as a footballer. The problem has been that he suffers too many injuries. And, of course, with the schedule as it is, with, a game every 3 or 4 days for the next couple of months, it's going to be, really, really demanding physically. So, yeah, a really difficult time. And I think that's why if Liverpool could win the Premier League again this season, it would be Klopp's greatest achievement by a long distance because he will have had to have done it without so many key players and with so many setbacks along the way.
Wow. Now the major debate nowadays is on whether Jota or Firmino should start. So who do you think should start? Do you think we should play a 4-3-3 like Klopp normally does? With Jota starting or Firmino starting? Or would you prefer a 4-3-2-1 like we played against Man City?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think my answer would be it depends who Liverpool are facing. I think personally, playing the whole of the front four only really works against teams that are quite negative and are set up to try and just contain Liverpool. So, when a lot of teams come to Anfield and just they're happy for Liverpool to have 70-75% of the ball, I think you can play Salah, Mane, Firmino and Jota in those games. I didn't think it worked particularly well against Man City because I thought after the initial 20-25 minutes when Liverpool played really well, I thought Man City then got to grips with the formation and managed to find a lot of gaps and spaces between the lines. And certainly in the second half, I thought Liverpool were fortunate to get a draw from that game. So I think, for the tougher games, I'd like to see 4-3-3 persevered with. And if I was only playing 3 attackers, then at the moment I would leave out Firmino because, I don't think his form has been very good this season. I think Jota has been sensational since he joined. So, and that's not just based on goals because I don't think you can just judge Firmino on goals because he's such an unselfish team player, Firmino. But I just think the other elements to his game haven't been as good this season. So, but, there's no doubt that Klopp absolutely loves Firmino. He rates him so highly in terms of the job he does for the team. So I still think Klopp will pick Firmino in the vast majority of matches.
Yeah, I totally agree too. And where do you think Liverpool will lie in the Premier League by the end of the season?
It's such a difficult question that at the moment because it's almost like a step into the unknown with the injury situation because, I actually thought Liverpool could just about handle losing Van Dijk because I thought, you know what, I really rate Gomez. Matip's coming back. Fabinho is a really, really, quality he can do that centre back role brilliantly. But now having lost Gomez probably for the rest of the season as well, I think there's just that seed of doubt probably for the first time this season. Can Liverpool go and win the league again? And I think it'll be close. I still think Liverpool can do it because I think they've got the firepower to blow teams away. And that's why, to go back to your earlier question about the formation, it might be that Klopp plays the front four in games because he thinks, well, actually, without a really rock-solid defence, maybe we have to go back to what Liverpool was like in maybe Klopp's first 2 years in charge when they didn't have a settled defence, they didn't have a solid defence, but they just went and outscored teams and took more risks. And so maybe we might see that from Liverpool this season because I just think the injuries give everyone else a chance. If you'd asked me before the Merseyside derby, I'd have said I was 95% sure Liverpool would win the league again this year because, I thought before a ball was kicked this season, I thought surely Man City will be a lot better. And I think from what we've seen from Man City so far, I don't think they are a lot better. I thought Chelsea would be a real threat with their new signings, but I think we've seen that it's going to take time for Chelsea signings to bed in. Manchester United finished last season really strong, but they've had some terrible results already this season. Same with Arsenal, finished last season strong, terrible results so far this time around. So I think it's going to be close. I still think Liverpool have got a great chance, but I'd say because of the injuries, I've probably gone from being 95% sure to probably 65% sure. And we just have to hope, as a Liverpool fan, that we've almost had all of our bad luck for the season already, because there's a real tough schedule of games coming up in November and December. And I think if we can get Fabinho back, Thiago's very close to playing football again as well. I think we won't be talking about the injuries. We'll be talking about the brilliance of the players who are still fit.
Hopefully. And how about in the UCL? Where do you think we'll reach in the UCL? Round of 16, quarterfinals, semis, finals, or do you think we can win it too?
I think Liverpool can certainly win it. Yeah, I think, again, you have to judge it against the other teams in the competition. And I think from what I've seen in, the opening 3 rounds of matches, is, the only team that have really stood out for me are Bayern Munich, of course, who deservedly, won the competition last season. I think, they're the only team that if Liverpool were facing them, next week or whatever, that I would think, that is a real big ask to try and go and beat them. But you do need some good fortune in the Champions League, especially when you get to the knockout stages. I mean, Liverpool are lucky in a way that despite how bad the injuries are now, because they've got 9 points on the board in the group stage already, they only probably need to win one of their last 3 games to be guaranteed going through. So that should help Klopp in terms of being able to rest key players for a couple of those UCL games. And then, of course, when you get to the knockout stages, anything can happen. I mean, I actually thought Liverpool were really unlucky last season when they got knocked out to Atletico Madrid, because certainly in the home game, I thought that was up there with one of Liverpool's best performances of the season. And when Firmino scored that goal to put them 2-0 up, I think it was early on in extra time, you thought, this is going to be remembered as a really special European night. And then, of course, Adrian makes that terrible mistake with the misplaced clearance, and the whole night just changes in the space of a few seconds. So yeah, you need a bit of luck along the way, but I think probably trying to win the Champions League and the Premier League is to do them both in one season is incredibly difficult. But there's no reason why Liverpool can't win one or the other. Because I think you also have to look upon it. I don't think many teams will look forward to playing Liverpool, because you only have to go back to the last game against Atalanta away. Atalanta, have become like a real force in the Champions League. I think they got to the quarterfinals last season, were very unlucky to lose to Paris Saint-Germain, and Liverpool went there and absolutely destroyed them. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting, the UCL this season, because it's a lot of it will come down as well to who's able to avoid injuries the most, because we've got so many games packed into such a short period of time. It's absolutely energy sapping, I think, for the players.
And if you were Klopp, are there any signings you would make in the January window or in the next summer window?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think Klopp has to go and sign a defender in January. I don't see how Liverpool can really get through to the end of the season with just the options they've got left standing. Like, I know, you've got to be sensible, because of course we know that Van Dijk and we know that Gomez could potentially be back at the very, towards the latter end of the season, and you can't just have like a ridiculously big squad. I've read some people say Liverpool should go and sign 2 defenders in January, and it's like, well, you're not going to do that, because the way that Klopp and the way that Michael Edwards operate, is they do operate for the long term. So they're not just going to sign someone and say, right, we just need you for the next 4 months. That's just not the way they do things. But I just look upon it and I think they didn't replace Dejan Lovren last summer when they sold him to Zenit St. Petersburg. Then, of course, you've lost Van Dijk. Then you lose Gomez. We know that Matip's injury prone. We also know that Liverpool are a much better team when Fabinho plays centre midfield than when he plays centre-back. So I think all of that adds up into they have to go and buy a centre-back in January. So who that would be, I mean, I think there's a few possibilities. I quite like Kabak at Schalke, Upamecano at Leipzig. They'd probably be my two top picks. I really like Ben White at Brighton, who was on loan at Leeds last season. But I think the awkward thing with him is, as we quite often find in the transfer market, when you're trying to buy another kind of UK player, there tends to be, you end up paying a higher price. And so I think Liverpool will be able to find better value than Ben White probably elsewhere. But yeah, I think centre-back's the big one for me, because I look elsewhere in the squad and there's real depth. When we get Thiago back and we've got Fabinho back and Oxlade-Chamberlain, people have almost forgotten about him, but he's not too far away now from playing again. Klopp's going to have massive options in midfield, and we know the competition up front, especially now that Shaqiri's back fit as well, and Jota flying. So to me, it's only really centre-back. And then potentially an upgrade on the backup goalkeeper next summer. I think Klopp kept faith with Adrian the summer just gone, but he'll be out of contract next summer. So I'd expect Liverpool to sign a new backup goalkeeper then.
Yeah, and which player do you think has the most potential and talent in the Liverpool squad?
In terms of young players, or?
Yeah, in terms of young players.
Yeah. I mean, I think the really exciting thing for Liverpool fans is there are so many good young players coming through. Of course, we've had a glimpse of some of them in like the FA Cup and the League Cup games. We've seen Curtis Jones make big strides forward this season, and Klopp's giving him a lot more opportunities because he rates him so highly. Of course, Reece Williams. I really do rate Reece Williams. I watched a lot of him playing under-18s football when Liverpool won the FA Youth Cup 2 years ago, and you don't want to burden young players by likening them to top superstars, but there are similarities with Van Dijk in terms of how composed and confident he is on the field. And then when you go a little bit deeper, there's obviously Billy Koumetio, who did really well in pre-season, and he would have, he's a French teenage centre-back, and he would have featured in the Carabao Cup games, but for an injury that he picked up himself. And then, I've been going to the academy this season to watch the matches, and there is some big talent coming through. I mean, Leighton Stewart is a prolific striker for the under-18s. I really like him. Every time I watch him play, he imposes himself on matches and makes things happen. And then there's Balagizi, who's a centre midfielder that Liverpool signed off Manchester City a few years ago. And Balagizi is when you speak to the staff at the academy, they all rave about how good he is. And so I think it's that that's the really pleasing thing, that I know a lot of all fans love big money new signings, don't they? But it's also crucial for the club to have a successful academy and to bring through players, and Liverpool's academy at the moment is in brilliant shape.
Totally agree. And now for the last part of our interview, we will be having a rapid fire round. So I will be asking you 15 questions and you have 10 seconds to answer each question honestly. So let's start.
Okay.
Who's better, Mane or Salah?
Salah.
Firmino or Jota?
Jota.
Matip or Gomez?
Gomez.
Trent or Robertson?
Oh, that's a real tough one. Trent.
Anderson or Oblak?
Allison.
Van Dijk or Ramos?
Oh, Van Dijk, 100%.
Thiago or Henderson?
Henderson.
Minamino or Shaqiri?
Shaqiri.
Keita or Wijnaldum?
What was that last one?
Keita or Wijnaldum?
Wijnaldum.
Karius or Adrian?
Adrian.
Barcelona or Real Madrid?
Barcelona.
Maradona or Pele?
Maradona.
Gerrard or Lampard?
100% Gerrard.
Fabinho or Busquets?
Fabinho.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
And so guys, that's all we have time for today, and I'll see you all next time. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thank you very much, Mr. James. Really appreciate it. Bye for now.